Hey everybody, welcome back to the course. So in the last video, we wrapped up our discussion on the different phases of investigation in Module 2. So here in Module 3, we're going to go over some generalized information about hard disk and file systems. So in this video, we're going to start talking about the different components that make up a hard disk. So a quick pre-assessment question, what does SSD stand for? And we'll learn that in this video. Alright, so if you guess solid state drive, you are correct. That's what it stands for. The other ones are pretty obvious that they're made up. So hard disk drive, or HDD, this uses magnetic storage to store and retrieve data. It's also non-volatile storage because of the magnetic aspect of it. So some components of it are platters, tracks, sectors, and clusters. So we'll talk about those a little bit. Platters are going to be the circular metal disc that are mounted in the drive enclosure. Something important for the exam you want to remember is that there's 2 heads per platter. So just keep that in mind, just in case you see some questions on platters for the exam. Tracks, so this is going to be that concentric ring on a platter. So we've got a little image there. Now, for the CHFI examination, you're not going to be questioned as far as like what's the difference between geometrical and a geometrical sector, and a track sector. It's just going to be basically like a track, right? It's going to be listed as a track or track sector. So these contain disk blocks, and they store data, and this numbering is 0 to 1023, and so that's something else you'll just want to keep in mind as you're studying for the CHFI exam. Sectors are going to be the smallest physical storage on the hard disk platter. So these are 512 bytes long. Now, 512 bytes, you'll also notice that's a master boot record as well. So just keep that in mind. You might see that number on the exam tested in some capacity. So we also have things like bad sectors. So another topic that's in the official EC Council material that might be on the exam. So basically this is as it sounds, right? It's portions of the disk that are unusable. Could be due to flaws. Generally it's caused by configuration issues, and could also be caused by the physical disturbance to the actual disk. The master boot record, as I mentioned, 512 bytes. That last portion is very important there. That's the signature. So that 0xAA55, you'll definitely want to memorize that just in case you see something about it on the actual examination itself. So clusters we kind of mentioned. These are the smallest accessible logical storage units on the hard disk drive. So these are formed by combining different sectors together. Slack space, so basically, as the name implies, it's a wasted area. So think of like that slacker person, right? They're kind of a waste of, the human body, right? They don't really do anything. They sit on the couch all day, that sort of stuff. So similar thing here in that aspect of it's a wasted area of the disk cluster. So basically, we've got small files, or we're using small files, and from the end of that file to the end of the cluster, that's going to be the slack space, right? That's that wasted space. So SSD, or solid state drives, which is more common, or at least in certain devices, a more common thing that you see nowadays. So these have some advantages, right? So higher data transfer rates, the area storage on them, the storage ability, reliability. They're also non-volatile, but they come with a price, right? They cost a little more than HDDs. Hard disk interfaces. Realistically, you probably won't see this on the CHFI exam. It is mentioned in the material, but I doubt, just because this is kind of somewhat older stuff, I doubt that you would honestly see that on the real exam. But again, you could, so it's good to know just what these are if you're not familiar. This is more along the lines of kind of like A+ type of knowledge, your SATA, your PATA, and then of course your SCSI as well. So just a quick post-assessment question here. So true or false here that the MBR, or the master boot record, that it's 512 bytes. So is that true or false? All right, so that's true. You got that correct if you guessed true. So again, that's something that you'll just want to memorize as you're studying for the CHFI examination. So in this video, we just went over some of the components of a hard disk. We also talked about SSD and what that was, or solid state drive. So if you remember, the pre-assessment question was regarding what does SSD stand for. In the next video, we're going to go over some things like bit versus byte versus nibble, as well as some other topics that are related. And again, in this entire module, we're kind of just going over the structure of hard disk as well as file system. So a lot of memorization, if you will, on these particular things that you'll need to know, but just make sure you understand them. That way, as you see the terminology on the examination, you'll understand. For example, if they tested you on like master boot record, you would know that that's 512 bytes, and you would know that MBR stands for master boot record. So just keep all that in mind. This is kind of like foundational knowledge that you'll need to know. Number one for a career in forensics, but also more so towards the CHFI examination.